My name is Frances Castaneda-Dice, and it's an honor to welcome you to our Feel Good Friday. Today is extra special. We've got songwriter and producer Billy Dorsey sharing his story from homelessness to the Grammy Awards. And in his honor, I wore my gold necklace here. Billy, it's such an honor to welcome you, and thank you so much for allowing us to hear your story today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. I'm so appreciative for the opportunity.
Great. And just before he starts, I wanted to let everyone know that I truly believe that God and whoever you believe in puts things in the right places. And I was introduced to Billy through a Rotary meeting, and I thought immediately he needs to be on our program and share his story. So without further ado, Billy, would you mind telling us how you got from homelessness to the Grammys?
Yes. So long story short, my father, Billy Dorsey Sr., was in the military. He was a weatherman. And so the image that you guys see is of me at 2 years old in my father's weather forecasting office. He had the responsibility of anytime the United Forces would initiate some type of an airstrike around the world, my dad was one of the team, a member of the team that they would reach out to find out if the weather was going to be amenable to their maneuvers. And so from a very young age, I've always had a love for technology, always had a love for music. My father's a singer as well. And so that image shows me at 2, sitting in front of tech, just like I am now in my recording studio here all these years later.
That's amazing. And speaking of tech, I hear that you went to Louisiana Tech University. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, I can. I went to Louisiana Tech University on a full music scholarship. I was blessed to have the opportunity that my choir director in high school, Patty Jimenez, was an alum of Louisiana Tech. She knew that I had aspirations of being successful as a singer in the music industry. And so she gave me the opportunity to go and audition at Louisiana Tech, her alma mater, for a scholarship, which I did receive. So I went to Louisiana Tech on a full voice scholarship for singing. That's
amazing. And how did you get to Houston?
My sophomore year in college, the Mississippi Mass Choir, which is a very famous gospel choir, they came to Louisiana Tech and they did a concert there. My group, Serenity, which is myself, my brother Emmanuel, and our friend Lamont, we opened for the Mississippi Mass Choir and we tore the house down. And so the road manager for the Mississippi Mass Choir was an A&R for a major record label. And he called the label after he saw us performing. It's like, you guys got to sign these kids. They're incredible. The label was based in Houston. And that's how I ended up moving from Louisiana Tech. The day after I took my finals, my sophomore year of college, my dad loaded up all my stuff and we came to Houston to start working on that album.
That's amazing. And how was that experience?
It started off incredibly. The guy that was producing our first record, his name is V. Michael McKay. He's one of the most respected producers and songwriters in gospel music. He taught Kirk Franklin how to write songs, if that tells you how great he is. We started working on the album with him. Things were going extraordinarily well, but then the label decided that they wanted to replace Lamont, the third member of our group, out of loyalty. Because again, I come from a military background. I come from a sports background. Out of loyalty, my decision was, we came together, we're going to stay together. And so I stood up to the label and said, you can't replace him. I'm the lead singer. If you're going to get him out, we're all going. Well, the label said, we have the legal authority in this contract that you signed to release him. And if you're not going to let that happen, then we're going to freeze your contract out. And I actually ended up homeless on the streets of Fifth Ward. The previous picture shows the place where I lived when I was homeless, on the streets of Fifth Ward. And Francis, I'll tell you, and I'll say it for the viewers, I've never tried a drug a day in my life. That's a question I get asked a lot. Were you on drugs? Were you on alcohol? I've never tried a drug a day in my life. And my first time ever drinking alcohol was champagne at my wedding in Santorini. So I wasn't homeless because of any addiction issues. I was homeless because of pride. You know, I'd signed this big record deal while I was in college. My brother and I were well known in the Louisiana area where we come from. And so for us, losing that record deal after all the fanfare that preceded that, I didn't want to have to go home a failure. And so rather than go home a failure and have to start over, I actually elected to stay in Houston, and that led me to homelessness.
That's a great story, because I know that from events like that come success. And
Yes.
what are the other lessons that you learned about pride and about getting up and doing it all over again?
You know what? Lessons about pride. Let me start there because I was about to get excited about the getting up and doing it all over again. But somebody needs to hear the pride message. I would say, as it relates to pride, the Bible says pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride is the catalyst for most of the issues that we face in the world today. People are too prideful to say that they need help. They're too prideful to say, I'm sorry, to apologize when we've done something wrong or done someone wrong. And so many problems could be alleviated. So many relationships could be repaired if we would just swallow our pride and admit that we don't have it all together. So if I had it to do all over again, I would not have allowed pride to drive me into that situation. But if I'm honest, Francis, I wouldn't be sitting here now with the success that I've been blessed with if I hadn't gone through that ordeal, because it also taught me fortitude. There's another scripture that says, the trying of your faith produces perseverance. My faith was tried when I was homeless and sleeping on cardboard boxes and eating out of trash cans and, sleeping with rats. Like the things that I endured, my faith was tried in a mighty way, but that taught me that if I can make it through that, I can make it through anything. And so no matter what obstacles might have come my way, we're in the middle of an obstacle right now. You and I were talking before the broadcast about the pandemic and the fact that our recording studio that I'm sitting in now was shut down for 3 full months. There was a time that I might have panicked about that. But after everything I've been through, 3 months of sitting at home with my wife and family, I don't think it really is that bad. You start to measure things out. And because of everything that I've been through, I would go through it again because it gave me the strength and the fortitude to become who God created me to be.
That's amazing. And right now, like you said, we're all going through trials and tribulations. So we're going to be successful when this pandemic goes away, and hopefully all of us are stronger and learn from the lessons that it taught us. But how did it give you the strength to get back up and start all over again? And how did you do that?
I had a friend of mine that gave me the opportunity to come and live on his sofa after I left being homeless. He and his wife and their sons slept on their sofa, got a job at a collection agency. I used the money from that job to build another studio to get back on my feet again. And a guy in Beverly Hills, his name is Jonathan Rodham. He's famous for producing SOS for Rihanna. He produced #1 hits for Kelly Clarkson and Nicki Minaj. Sean Kingston and Jason Derulo are artists that he discovered. He found my music on the internet that I'd created in that studio or after I was homeless. And I still have the email now, Francis, all these years later. It said, love your music, let's build. And within about 3 months, my production partner, who still works with me now all these years later, named J-Tel, he and I were in Beverly Hills. So imagine going from sleeping on the streets, literally eating out of garbage cans, to in Beverly Hills in 5-star hotels, creating music for some of the most famous artists in the world. And that was the direct lineage. And then he introduced me to Lecrae, who has been for many years now one of the largest Christian artists in the world. And that's where the #1 albums and the award wins and things started to happen.
God. So tell us about that Grammy Award. How was it putting together that album and then the success that it gave you?
For us, we'd had the opportunity to work with Lecrae on his previous album. It was called Rehab the Overdose. That album hit #1 and it won a Dove Award, which is basically like the Grammys of Christian music, and a Stellar Award, which is the Grammys of gospel music. So we'd already had major success with the album we did before that with him. And while we were in Atlanta for the Dove Awards, the team started talking through, okay, now we've had this success. This was a huge record for us. What's going to be the next album? And so we got the opportunity to just start working on tracks for it. We did 13 different tracks to land 1 on the album. And that album, February 10th of 2013, went on to win the Grammy Award for Best Gospel Album, as well as another Dove and another Stellar. And we had 3 straight years of #1 albums as a result.
So where is your Grammy today?
Oh, man, all of my trophies are in a trophy case at my house. Where all my shoes and all that stuff. I'm a sneaker collector, so I've got all my trophies in the middle and my sneakers all around the side of it.
I bet that's a beautiful, beautiful sight. And so you found love, and we're going to show this picture of you and on your wedding. Can you tell us about this looks like it should be in a magazine. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, we got, that's my queen. I call her queen. Her name's Monica, but nobody ever knows that because I always call her queen. We got married in Santorini in Greece. And so that's on the edge of the caldera where we got married. I met her at Lakewood Church after I was homeless. Had the opportunity to, I would sing happy birthday for all of the leaders of the church. And her sister, her older sister, and I were friends. I didn't even know my wife existed. I was friends with her older sister, but didn't know she had sisters. And so her older sister, Nicole, comes to me and says, Billy, would you mind if I bring my sisters? Because we'd like to sing happy birthday with you. And I'm like, sure, bring your sisters. And then my wife walks in. I'm like, oh my goodness, who is this angel? And, you know, so from the moment that we started dating, we've been inseparable. And I knew within a week that she was the one I wanted to marry. And that was our wedding. So we flew all of our immediate family that was able to go and our closest friends over to Santorini. We had a wedding there.
Greece is one of the places I would love to visit. And so I'm so envious, and what a beautiful photo. And you've got a family now. And our next photo is tell us who's in this photo.
Yes, so that's my wife and our three girls. Asia is a sophomore at A&M. Taylor is 13 in the pink t-shirt. And Chloe Marie is my mini-me, and she's 8 years old. So those are our babies.
She does look like you. She is beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. And how does it feel to have a daughter in college?
You know what? Time gets away from us, because I remember when they were all babies, and then now to have her, you know, she can't go back to school right now because of everything going on with COVID. She's going to have to do online schooling. But just the thought that now I've got a child that's an adult, it still doesn't compute for me some kind of way. Mm-hmm. But I'm so proud of all of them.
Oh, I bet. And what are some of the, I guess, you know, lessons that you try to teach them based on the journey that you've had?
The number one thing that if they were here right now, they would all say, my favorite word is practice, practice, practice. So, you know, anytime they say I can't is not a word we use. Because if I've been able to overcome all the things that I've overcome and become successful, you have the advantage of our wisdom and the stability that we can afford to you, that you're not starting where I started. So if I can do it, can't not be in your vocabulary. Right. So they can't say can't, and anything that they want to do, it's possible if you, and they'll all look at me and roll their eyes and go, practice, practice, practice. That's kind of my famous sayings for them.
You need to get T-shirts with that saying on like on a family trip, something like that. But you're back in your studio, and I see that behind you. So tell us what you're working on right now.
Oh man, we have 23 different artists that are signed to our record label, which is called The Bridge Life. We partnered with Entertainment One, which is the world's largest independent record label. They're based out of Nashville. And so now we can do so much more than just write and produce music. We do music videos and marketing and promotions and radio promo. Like, we can help an artist to go from coming in with an idea to being on the top of the charts. Actually, one of our artists today, Tara Lynn, her song came out this morning. It's already number 4 on the charts that we produced here in our studio. So wrapping up all the albums from the artists that we've had before the quarantine that have waited for 3.5 months, and then starting to take on new projects. So I'm just really excited at where we are.
Oh, that's wonderful. You've got this positive attitude, and there's a picture here of you with all of these beautiful children. Can you tell us about this?
Sure. One of the things that I learned from becoming successful and from generating significant revenue and having number ones in your name on billboards and traveling around the world is that fame is hollow, and wealth is a blessing. The Bible says money answers all things. But that only matters and it only applies if you use those things to be a blessing to other people. And so one of the things that I've been very intentional on our team doing since we become successful, Francis, is using our platform to be a blessing to other people. So that picture actually is me in Uganda, in Kampala, Uganda, with kids at the Chain Foundation School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, where I went and was able to do some speaking and raise some money for them and sing. Because I partnered with a company called United Bible Societies for that project, where we went around the world and found countries that did not have the Bible translated into their language. And we did concerts and sold merchandise and all these different things to raise money to fund those Bible translations. So I was actually in Uganda to do a concert there to announce the debut or the launch of the first Braille Bible in their language there. So we did something with those kids, and their spirit was so pure, and they were so sweet and so kind that picture, we were actually making fun of someone. The camera guy was making faces at us, and we're all laughing at him like, ha ha. You know, the joy that they have. I understand that the blessings that God gives us are never for us. They're just not. You know, we're supposed to be good providers for our family. We're supposed to create opportunities for those people around us, true. But the blessings that God gives when he does things to the magnitude of what he's done in my life, I can't contain that within just my immediate circle. It was not meant to be contained in that way. It was meant to be a blessing to other people. And so that is what that is. We also had the opportunity to partner with the Salvation Army. And that's on the next picture that you guys have there for us. We partnered with the Salvation Army and Deborah Duncan from Great Day Houston. She's holding my friend Jabari's guitar. We did a project with them in December of last year for people that were homeless, which you know is a part of my story. It was home for the holidays. And the whole thought is there are families around the city that coming into Christmas, they didn't have a place to live. They were on the streets, and it was families, mothers with children, or, you know, mothers and fathers with children that were homeless on the streets. And we had the opportunity to create a musical project, 5 songs that I wrote and produced here in our studio. We brought in artists to sing each of those songs, and we went on Great Day Houston and performed them, and people were inspired to donate. And we raised over $2.5 million between December and the end of January for that project to get families off the streets and into homes so that people could have a home for the holidays. So that's what I'm talking about. It's the blessings that God gives you are never for you. Your talents, your gifts, the ingenuity that you possess, your creativity, those things are not just meant to be used to advance your own life, but to be a blessing to other people. And that's what I've devoted my life to.
I think it's you know, you're right. I think if you had not had that hardship, you may not have been this giving. And you definitely may not have met your wife. So you're right. Everything that we see as a hardship, we should look at it as a blessing, because it's going to just give us the strength in order to be a better person overall.
Yes.
I have a question here,
Sure.
a couple of questions here. So we hear that you have a book. And so what inspired you to write your book, and how long did it take you? And then another one, what was your recommendation to anyone looking to write a book? So we'll start with the first one. What inspired you to write your book?
Got it. Well, my book is called In the Right Seat, and that means finding your purpose. Purpose is found, in my estimation, at the intersection or the nexus of 3 factors: your proficiencies, which is your gifts, your talents, your skills; your positioning, which is the opportunities and relationships that you have access to, your positioning, your passion, and your proficiency. And your passion is just what drives you, what compels you, what moves you. When you can find those 3 things where they intersect in your life, that's your purpose. And so In the Right Seat is my book title. And it was just created during the quarantine, by the way, to the person who asked how long it took to write it. I wrote that during the 3.5 months that I couldn't come here to the studio. I knew what I wanted to write. I had already been writing out notes, but actually sitting down writing the book, I started and finished it during the time of quarantine. There are so many people that I meet in my travels, Francis, that they hear my story and they're like, you found what you're supposed to be doing, but I never figured that out, or I never knew what I'm supposed to do, or I'm a mom, so I thought my purpose was just raising my kids, but now they're grown. What am I supposed to do? Or I'm a dad who's now retired. I worked a career for 20 years, but now I'm in my 50s and I've got the rest of my life and I don't know what to do. What's my purpose? It is helping people to identify the reason that you're put here on this earth. Let's use the Salvation Army Project as an example. My passion is for people that are overlooked. It's for homeless people. It's for people who battle with mental health challenges. It's for anyone that people look down on, because I know what it feels like to be that person. I have a passion for that. My proficiency is I create music at a high level. And my positioning is, because of the success that I've enjoyed in my career, I have global partnerships. Where those 3 things intersected in December was creating the project with the Salvation Army. That was my purpose based on where the opportunities were in that moment. And because I was operating in purpose, all those families now have a home. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So whatever your purpose is, it's going to align with the things that make you who you are. And when you can find the intersection between those things, you can create something that's not just a blessing to you, but a blessing to everyone you come into contact with.
I love that. I love that story. And do you have any recommendations for anyone who's looking to write a book? I know you wrote this during COVID, and I hope other people are doing the same thing, but any other recommendations?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is two things. One, write out the guideline, whether it's just your chapters and a synopsis. Start there, because just like any other large goal, it can seem daunting if you just look at it in a holistic perspective. Break it down into chunks. If I know what all my chapters are going to be about, then I can focus on each chapter as I go. That's one. And number two, set deadlines. Set deadlines for yourself. So many things can be accomplished that we put off and postpone and procrastinate if we would just give ourselves and hold ourselves to a deadline. I knew probably a month in that we were going to spend at least 3 months at home. So I said by the end of July, I wanted my book done. I finished it at the end of June. You know, if you set a deadline for yourself, you are going to accomplish it. So break it up into small pieces, set deadlines, and hold yourself accountable.
I love that. I love that. We're going to write that down and repeat it often, on and on again. I've got a great question here from Joe Palmer. He wants to know, what was the focus that gave you the strength to hold on during homelessness?
Honestly, it's that I am the oldest of 4 siblings. And I never wanted I have 2 younger brothers and a sister. And I never wanted them to be able to think that it was okay to give up. I knew that if I could make it through that, this is before a wife, before kids. I knew that if I could endure, if I could make it through that my siblings would be able to look at that as an example and say, when hard times came into their lives, my brother made it. He didn't quit. So I can push through this and endure. I had no idea, Joe, to your question, that it was going to become a blessing to people all over the world, because I travel all over the world and share my story now. I was just thinking of my siblings and being a good example for them.
Thank you for that answer. We've got another great question here. What has made you stay connected to your faith, God, with all of your success?
I understand, and that is a great question. I understand that my decision-making ended me up homeless. And that the only reason I was able to overcome that and to become successful or to impact the lives that I've impacted is because of my faith. I believe that all things are possible to him that believes. It's another scripture that I quote often. And my life is an example of that. If it was not for God keeping me alive and protecting me when I was, homeless on the streets, people died, on the streets. People did not survive that encounter, but God kept me alive. God protected me. He spared me from some of the dangers that I faced on a daily basis. And I believe that he did that so that I could be where I am now and inspiring other people, not just to look at success or to find their own purpose, but to understand that all good things come from him. So I'm here only because of God. And that made me it makes it very easy for me to hold on to my faith, because I know that he's everything to me.
I love this answer. And so what is on your next travel of when things get back to normal? Where are you supposed to go next?
I actually had a book tour that was scheduled to have started. I was leaving for New York the day that they shut everything down. So I was supposed to be traveling around the world 3 different dates a week for the rest of the year. All of those dates are now being rescheduled. So I don't know exactly where my first one is going to be once they lift all the restrictions and people start gathering together again. But I know I'm going to be traveling a little bit of everywhere. And I want to take my wife somewhere out of the country and just get away, unplug, no emails, no text messages, no cell phone, on an island somewhere for a few days and just enjoy some time with her, because her birthday was April 30th. And we didn't get to celebrate her birthday because we were trapped in the house during COVID. So I want to be able to that may be my first trip once it's safe, is to take her somewhere. I think she wanted to go to Bora Bora. So
you're thinking of someone else other than yourself. That's beautiful.
Got to.
So you're an entrepreneur, and we're a chamber, and we met through the Harrisburg Rotary Club of Harrisburg.
Yes.
What as a tip or an advice that you can give to other business owners who maybe have seen some downfall during this pandemic, and or words of encouragement?
Got it. I'll give both. A tip, find what area of your company you can create something that is deemed essential. What this time has shown us is that businesses, that products, that services that were deemed essential thrive. Look at Jeff Bezos and Amazon, how his earnings grew exponentially during this time. You know, I've talked with a couple of my friends that own businesses that provided sanitizer or wipes or all those, you know, PPE, that they did exceptionally well during this time because what they did was deemed essential. Whereas I mentioned my business was shut down because we were deemed non-essential during that time. Try to find those areas in your company where what you offer is something that people need no matter what's going on in the world. And then when you find yourself in a downtime like now, shift focus. One of the biggest mistakes we make is that we're unafraid, or that we're afraid to and unwilling to pivot. You've got to be willing to make the shift because circumstances around us are always going to change. Life is not static. It will always change. And if you are one of those people that you plant your flag and that's where you're going to stay, and no matter what's going on, you're not going to change, well, then life will move right past you. It'll pass you by. So find whatever areas in your company are essential or could be deemed essential and hone in on those during times like this. And in terms of encouragement, I would say people have been spending the last 3.5 to 4 months in some areas of the country trapped in their homes, unable to live the life that they want to live. When the restrictions are lifted and people can get back to their lives again, all of the folks that you've been missing out on that have not been able to patronize your business are going to be back with a hunger. And if you position yourself in the marketplace as the answer to whatever those needs are, to whatever they're looking for when they're able to do that again, your best days will be out in front of you. It's not behind you. You know, I know a lot of people took a financial hit during this time, and some people weren't able to get the loans from the government. I understand that. But if you can hold on just a little bit longer, when you make it to the other end of this, I believe that your better days are going to be the days out in front of you and not the ones that you've seen in the past. Be encouraged. Hang in there.
I love that encouragement, and I am inspired. Here's another question. So what recommendations would you make to someone who is attempting to start a business, but they do not know how to set themselves apart?
The niche is the most important thing. It's the most important thing. You have to find, before you start a business, what makes you different, what makes you special, what makes if you're selling a product, what makes your product stand out in the marketplace. For me as a music producer, one of the things that has made us tremendously successful is not just that we create great music. There are a lot of people who do that. It's the fact that we've been able to find and form strategic partnerships with organizations where what we create helps them and their bottom line. And it's something that's charitable, which it encourages other people to want to do business with us because everything we do isn't about us. That makes us unique. Some of the top record labels in the world that have world-class producers, it's all about the profit and the sales of the records and how well their artists do, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we differentiated ourselves because we use, again, finding our right seat. My passion has always been to be a blessing to other people. How can we combine that with our musical talent that we need to generate revenue from? We found our niche, and that's what's made us successful. It is vital that you take the time before you start a business or before you write a business plan, that you identify the thing that makes your business different and then build everything around the thing that makes you unique. It's going to make you stand apart in the marketplace.
Good, inspiring words. I've got another question here. It says, what is the most surreal moment of your success? You know, that moment when you were thinking like, man, I can't believe this is happening to me.
You know what? If I'm honest, the most surreal moment of my success was in 2016 doing a concert in the Philippines. Packed stadium. And they, you know, although a lot of them speak English, it's not the primary language. Tagalog is. And hearing people in a country that I'd never been to singing my songs in English, that's not their primary language. That was you know, you're looking around at the audience and you're like, God, what is going on right now? To me, that's probably got to be the biggest moment. Awards are cool. They're a blessing. They validate you. They give you credibility in the industry. But when you can see the tangible effects of the influence that you're having in the lives of people, that to me is always going to be the most powerful moment.
I love that. And right now during COVID, it's kind of hard for people that are struggling to, give back. And I
Right.
know that you do that a lot. Any other tips on and the importance of giving back, especially during a time like this?
Yeah, I mean, giving back, you always identify the need. What's the area that most people have need of right now? A lot of people that lost their jobs, if they didn't have unemployment, I think now unemployment just took a dip, $600 a week or something like that. There are people that are losing their homes, that are losing their apartments right now. They have families that have been gainfully employed prior to COVID, and they lost everything as the result of something that they had nothing to do with. Find organizations that give to help people stay in their homes. If there are families, like I'm a big supporter of the Houston Food Bank. There are families that they have to choose between paying their rent or buying groceries for their families. They're going to keep a roof over their heads, but then they go hungry. What are the areas where there are needs that no matter who they are, if you serve that need, you're going to bless people. Find that area and fill it. It's that simple. And don't compare what you give or do to anyone else. You give to your capacity. I'm reminded of the parable in the Bible where there's an example where one person walks in. There's an example where one person walks in and gives a whole lot of money in the offering in the church, and then there's a woman that comes in and just gives a penny. And what Jesus says is the woman who gave a penny gave more than the person who gave a lot of money, because she gave all she had. Give what you can, give what you have to give. And I believe, from a religious perspective, I believe God will honor it. And in the natural sense, I believe that what you pour out into others comes back to you.
I believe in that. My grandmother taught me that at an early age, and I've seen it, and it's so true.
Yeah.
I've got a great question here. So where can we buy your book and hear your music?
My music is everywhere. iTunes, Amazon.com, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, any of the places that you can get digital music, my music is available. My book is available at billydorsey.com/shop. And you'll see the pre-order for the book there. The book comes out August 21st. And for people who pre-order the book, they're actually going to get a free copy of my newest music single, also called In the Right Seat. That is not out for anyone else yet, but you'll get it when you pre-order, or if you pre-order the book.
Oh, so we heard it first, and we can get that get in before they're sold out, and get
right.
that to our house delivered quickly.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with us in closing remarks? Anything that I didn't ask? Any words of encouragement? Anything that you want to share with our audience?
I would share something with you. Francis, your spirit shines. And that's a blessing. The joy that you have to share information with your viewers, it's palpable. I mean, I can feel it from here in the studio, just, listening to you and seeing your smile. There are people right now, our country's in a dark place for a variety of reasons that we don't even have time to get into. But people who inspire, people who give people a reason to have hope, to smile, there's not enough of people like that. So thank you for your platform. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share, and keep doing what you're doing, because you're blessing people. And that's what it's all about. So
you gave me a tear here. That was so sweet. Thank you so much, Billy.
It's not a problem.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Make sure that you go to billydorsey.com and order that book and show support here locally. He's also available to speak, so there's information there on how to get him too. And follow him on all of his social media platforms. It's been an honor today, and we will be back next Friday with our next guest. And I wish you a great weekend, and tell your family hello for me.
I gladly will. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.